Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very, very well. Happy New Year. Hope everyone is having a great Friday. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into, so let's get straight into today's stories. And let's start off with WWE's tribute video that they have released to the late Brodie Lee. Now, WWE has released footage of superstars and producers remembering the late Brodie Lee, Jon Huber, also known as Luke Harper during his days with the company, backstage at Raw this week. Of course, it was previously reported that WWE did film content for a Brodie Lee tribute. Obviously, it didn't air during Monday Night Raw, and people were slightly confused as to why it didn't air, what the plan was going forward, but we have now seen this video package that has been released by WWE. Now, the video opens with an emotional Xavier Woods, who shows the armband that he wore during Raw's tribute to Brodie Lee this past week. Kofi Kingston also speaks on Brodie Lee and shows off the tape he wore to honour the former Bludgeon Brother. The video also features the likes of Keith Lee, Mustafa Ali, and John Morrison, along with WWE producers Tyson Kidd, Adam Pearce, and Jason Jordan. The video ends with an emotional Jason Jordan, who includes a candid behind-the-scenes footage of Brodie Lee and footage of Brodie Lee with his family. Now, obviously, previously, before this video came out, and after Raw's tribute to Brodie Lee this past week, there was criticism, certainly some criticism from aspects of social media and the pro wrestling community, for what people described as a lack of effort or a lack of a tribute to Brodie Lee after his passing. Now, obviously, this week, WWE have opened their programs, NXT and Raw, with graphics in memory of Jon Huber, but that was about it, besides various superstar tributes, as I mentioned with the Xavier Woods and the armband, and Kofi Kingston, and some superstars doing Brodie Lee's discus clothesline. Tom Phillips mentioned him, Drew McIntyre used the yeah, yeah, yeah catchphrase as well during his promo, but there was certainly a lack of a full-blown tribute in terms of a 10-bow salute, a tribute package, etc. Even had Impact Wrestling star Brian Myers, former WWE superstar Kurt Hawkins, call out WWE on Twitter because of the lack of tributes earlier this week. But it is being reported by PW Insider that WWE was merely showing respect to AEW by allowing them to pay tribute to Brodie Lee first, beyond the show opening graphics. Now, of course, this past week we saw the Celebration of Life edition of Dynamite, which was a big tribute, of course, from AEW, the company that Brodie Lee was signed to. That included the aforementioned 10-bow salute tribute package, tributes from the AEW wrestlers, all members of the Dark Order performing. You had Brodie Lee armbands being worn. Of course, you had his son, Brodie Lee Jr. being there, his wife, Amanda, as well. So there's no word yet on if this video package will be something that airs tonight on SmackDown, if there will be a 10-bow salute for tonight's episode of SmackDown on Fox. Of course, it's a live episode back on Fox, so we'll have to wait and see. I think this is kind of what I hoped the situation would be. I did the video on Tuesday when we spoke about the news and spoke about Kurt Hawkins' opinion about WWE having a lack of a tribute, and I did agree with him. And I still do, that during Monday night's episode of Raw, look, it's a 3-hour show. They have a million recap packages. He deserved a lot more, Brodie Lee, Jon Huber. He did deserve a lot more in terms of a tribute on that show. And I understand where people go, yeah, but he wasn't a WWE legend. Yes, he was there for 8 years, and he wasn't, a Hall of Famer. He wasn't a world champion, etc., etc. But quite frankly, these are different circumstances. The passing, the tragic passing of Brodie Lee is completely different to other passings, unfortunately, in the sense that this is one that's really hurt people. People are still grieving. People are still in shock. The man passed away at the way too young of age of 41 years of age, and it's a tragic passing that has affected a lot of people inside various companies in the pro wrestling community, as Jon Moxley mentioned on Dynamite this week, and everyone is still hurting and reeling from it. So absolutely, Brodie Lee was justified in having a 10-bow salute, having a tribute package, because this was a tragic and shocking passing. So I totally agree with people like Kurt Hawkins that WWE should do more. Now, as PW Insider has mentioned there, the reason reportedly that they didn't do more on Monday and on Wednesday is because they wanted to allow AEW, the company that Brodie Lee was signed with at the time of his passing, to do the tribute first, out of respect to Brodie Lee, his family, because of course his family was involved in that tribute, and in respect to AEW as well. If that is the case, then credit to WWE, then absolute credit to WWE. And I don't subscribe to those people on social media that are saying, oh, this tribute's better than that tribute. Look, watch the video package that WWE released about Brodie Lee yesterday. It's a fantastic tribute. It's a beautiful tribute. It's like everything in this situation, it's heartbreaking and heartwarming in the same breath. So I think they did a good job. I thought the tribute package was very well done. I thought it was a fitting tribute to the man, the husband, the father that Jon Huber was. And hopefully, we'll see that tribute package air tonight on SmackDown. Hopefully, on SmackDown tonight, we'll get the 10-bow salute. I would really hope that if that is the case. If it isn't, then we can discuss that at a later time. But in terms of comparing tributes, in terms of saying, oh, WWE didn't do this, they didn't do that, if the report is true, that they just didn't do it that much, they did do a tribute, but they didn't do that much on Monday Night Raw and NXT this week because they wanted to pay respect to allow AEW to do it first because that was the big tribute. His family was involved in that one. Then credit to WWE for that. Credit to WWE for that. And of course, as I mentioned, we'll find out more when it comes to a tribute tonight on SmackDown. And if they do the tribute tonight on SmackDown as well, what you also have to consider is the SmackDown audience is far bigger than the Raw audience as well. It's on Fox, it's on network TV. It would be a tribute seen by a way bigger audience, a casual audience. And again, that's fitting of the tribute that Jon Huber deserves. So hopefully, we'll see the tribute package, we'll see the 10-bow salute, we'll see a more fitting tribute when it comes to actually the presence on the show tonight on SmackDown. That's what I hope to see. That's what I certainly hope to see. Speaking of Brodie Lee and his family as well, Jon Huber's wife, Amanda Huber, took to Instagram yesterday and made a long post on this week's Celebration of Life edition of AEW Dynamite for her late husband, Jon Huber, who passed away at the age of 41 last Saturday after a lung issue. Now, Huber said the entire show was perfect from beginning to end, and the love inside Daily's place was real and it radiated throughout the entire night. Huber also praised AEW President and CEO Tony Khan and the rest of the company for everything they've done to help her and her family during this difficult time. She called Khan the kindest and most genuine person she's ever met. Amanda went on and noted that she's been around pro wrestling for a very long time. She was actually previously a pro wrestler herself and has seen the absolute worst that it has to offer, but everything she saw on Dynamite this week was heartfelt and genuine. This is the entire post. I didn't want to read extracts from it. I wanted to read the whole thing because it's so powerful and moving. So she said, quote, "I tried so hard to use photos that captured last night and I'm unsure if photos could do it justice. I'm not even sure I have the words that can come close, but I'll try. The entire show was perfect from top to bottom. The little Easter eggs, the tributes, the matches and the moments. I'm not sure what it looked like on TV and I'm sure sometime soon I'll see it for myself. But I can tell you in person, the love that was in that building last night was real. It radiated all night long. You could feel it in the air. It was devastating and beautiful and a testament to one of the best people to walk this earth. I will never ever be able to thank Tony Khan and the AEW family enough. No words will ever work. All I can say is that AEW is the most amazing community and Tony is easily the kindest and most genuine person I have ever met. He loved my husband, he loves wrestling, he loves AEW, and he loves my family. Real, authentic love. I've been around wrestling a long time. I've seen the absolute worst sides of this business, and I don't think I'd believe it either if I didn't live it myself. But please believe me when I say everything last night from AEW on TNT was heartfelt and genuine. Not a single person was disingenuous. Nobody was just putting on a show. It was real and raw emotion and just effing beautiful. And in the words of Brodie Lee, are you crying? It was always effing something with you, John Silver. Yep, all of us, little B.I., you know the rest. Also, there were so many photos I was tagged in and saved and forgot who sent them. So if I'm using your photo, please let me know and I'll gladly credit you. So obviously, a very heartfelt tribute and touching words by Jon Huber's widow there, Amanda Huber. And I totally agree with her. As I mentioned yesterday when we covered the AEW tribute, the Celebration of Life tribute that they did this week to Jon Huber, Brodie Lee, I thought it was excellent. And I thought it was obviously incredibly emotional, incredibly heartbreaking, heartwarming, and difficult to watch at times, but I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I experienced it, and as she mentions there, you have to give credit to Tony Khan and everyone in AEW for the way they've handled this, the way they put on that show, what they've done for Brodie Lee's family so far, and what I'm sure they'll continue to do in the future. The way that they helped Brodie Lee Jr. during that whole show, putting a smile on that young child's face during the most difficult time of his life and the most difficult time of his family's life after the shock passing of their father, their husband. The fact that Tony Khan, AEW, and just the whole pro wrestling community was able to come together and put a smile on this child's face and really honor him and his father in the way that they deserve to be, then you have to give a massive, massive credit to Tony Khan and everyone at AEW. Everyone at AEW. And I'm, not embarrassed to say it myself, I shed several tears during that show. And it was such a special night. It was such a special night. Probably one of the most difficult shows to watch that I've watched since arguably the Eddie Guerrero tribute show way back when. But it was beautiful at the same time. It really was beautiful at the same time. And as I mentioned, credit to everyone involved in AEW because it really was special. Speaking of Tony Khan as well, he has revealed actually that he bought the rights to use the song used in the Brodie Lee tribute package that ended Dynamite this week. AEW President and CEO Tony Khan has made sure that the Brodie Lee tribute video from this week's Celebration of Life edition of Dynamite will live on forever as he has purchased the rights to the song that was used. Now, the tribute to Lee featured the Old 55 song by Tom Waits. Khan took to Twitter after the show and thanked everyone for tuning in and revealed that he bought the rights to Old 55 so that the tribute will last forever as is. He said, quote, "Thank you everyone that joined us tonight on AEW Dynamite to celebrate the life of Jon Huber, known to fans as Mr. Brodie Lee. It was a great honor to host his family, Amanda, Brodie and Nolan. I bought the rights to Old 55 by Tom Waits so that the tribute will last forever," Tony Khan wrote. And again, I mean, what more needs to be said about the way that Tony Khan has handled this? As I mentioned previously, and I'll mention it again because it deserves repeating, it deserves mentioning over and over again. The way that Tony Khan has handled this, the way that Tony Khan has paid tribute to Brodie Lee, his family, his wife, his children, is just beyond commendable. Whether it's buying the rights to this song so the tribute will live forever, putting on the show that he put on TNT, signing his 8-year-old son to a contract so when he becomes of age he can become a pro wrestler. Even if not, it's a way of financially supporting the entire Huber family. Whether it's hosting them at the event, whether it's naming Brodie Lee Jr. as the AEW TNT champion for life so he can keep the very same championship that his father held, whether it's putting the boots in the ring and the handkerchief, whether it's all of that stuff. And also as well, it's supporting the family during the time in which Brodie Lee was sick. We know the details now that Brodie Lee did fall ill around sort of mid to late October, and Brodie Lee unfortunately was in the hospital in the ICU for 2 months. He was hospitalized for 2 months. During that period of time, Tony Khan ensured that he and the entire company respected the wishes of Amanda Huber, kept the condition private. On top of that, he supported the entire family throughout that duration and will continue to do it. Prior to Brodie Lee's passing, they had Brodie Lee Jr. come out at a Dynamite after the show went off the air and pin the world champion and make him the world champion. He named him the TNT champion for life. You look at the videos backstage of the way that he, Cody Rhodes, and everyone in AEW have been supporting the family. It's a testament to Tony Khan, the person, the company, everyone involved. And it almost goes beyond the tribute show that they did to Brodie Lee. The way that they have handled this, the way that they have united the pro wrestling community, the way that they've turned their social media platform into this mural of just pure tribute and love to Jon Huber and the man that he was, the father he was, the husband he was. It's just, it's unforgettable. It really is unforgettable, and it goes to show the type of man and person that Tony Khan is. And there's a beautiful picture also doing the rounds on social media. I really wish I'd had it on the screen right now of Tony Khan embracing Brodie Lee Jr. during Dynamite, and it's just, it's beyond special. It's beyond special, and like I said, he has to be, and everyone in AEW has to be commended on just the way they've handled this situation, the way that they have helped and supported the Huber family throughout this unbelievably tragic and difficult time. It's beyond commendable. It really is. It has to be said about that. I do want to touch on briefly, and I wasn't even sure if I should really talk about this because it doesn't feel right. I know people will be interested in this, so I literally will say what the ratings were. I'm not going to give opinions because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But Wednesday's Brodie Lee Celebration of Life on Dynamite reportedly drew 977,000 live viewers with a 0.40 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic, whereas Wednesday's WWE NXT on the USA Network drew a 586,000 live viewers with a 0.12 rating in the key demographic. That's all I'm going to say about it. It doesn't matter this week. What matters is everyone is paying tribute, celebrating the life, and mourning the loss of Jon Huber. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter about affiliations to companies, which company you're signed to, which company you're a fan on, which show you usually watch on Wednesday. What really matters, and what matters the most, is that we celebrate the life of Jon Huber and mourn his passing. That is it. It doesn't matter about anything else, so that's all I'm going to say on that one. Also, as well, we had some reactions from the WWE superstars to the aforementioned Celebration of Life edition of Dynamite, because several WWE superstars took to Twitter after the show and reacted and gave their thoughts on what a fitting tribute it was to Brodie Lee on Wednesday. Daniel Bryan, WWE superstars, thanked AEW for honouring Lee's family and said he cried several times during the show. He said, quote, "That was beautiful. I cried numerous times. Thank you so much for honouring a man we loved, and thank you for honouring his family in such a special way. I love you, Brodie, and we will all miss you." Xavier Woods added, quote, "That was a fantastic way to say goodbye." WWE current Intercontinental Champion Big E and close friend of Brodie Lee as well called the show a perfect tribute to his friend. He said, quote, "What a perfect tribute show to a beautiful man. I'm just so glad I got to be friends with someone so many loved. Hashtag Brodie Lee." Kevin Owens also added, quote, "That was wonderful." WWE superstar Mickie James commented on how everyone has come together to pay tribute to Lee. She said, quote, "It's in these times of losing one of the good ones we are reminded how vast a family is. How big a world, yet small of a circle we truly travel in. When the love for one man can have a ripple effect, a coming together across the divide, you know you did it right. Hashtag RIP Brodie Lee." And Sami Zayn also commented, quote, that he was crushed at seeing a special appearance by Lee's former tag team partner in WWE, the emotional Eric Rowan. He said, quote, "This crushed me," end quote. And obviously it was the same. That was the Eric Rowan moment for me during Dynamite this week. Was absolutely a moment that got to me, as did several moments during the show. As I mentioned yesterday, when it comes to Eric Rowan's appearance in AEW, I'm just so glad he was able to do it. I'm just so glad that AEW either reached out, or Eric Rowan reached out to AEW and said, you know, I have to be a part of this show. I want to pay tribute to Brodie Lee, Jon Huber, in the best way that I can, and in the biggest way that I can, and in a way that's fitting for the man and friend that he was. And I'm so glad that Eric Rowan was able to do that. It was an absolutely, tear-inspiring moment, but also just such a beautiful moment as well, and a really fitting tribute. So I'm really glad that he was able to do that. That was a tough moment, but also a fantastic moment to see. Speaking of the tributes as well, obviously I mentioned the way that AEW and Tony Khan have supported the family and the wife and the children of Jon Huber this week, and it continues because All Elite Wrestling continues to honour the legacy of Brodie Lee and the Huber family, because after a full episode of tributes that would even see Brodie Lee Jr. -1 whack MJF over the head with a kendo stick and be given the TNT Championship, TNT Champion for life, AEW have continued to honour Brodie Lee by honouring the heir to the throne, Brodie Lee Jr., aka -1, because AEW announced on Twitter this week that Brodie Lee Jr. was named the Wrestler of the Week, and they also added a touching quote from Eddie Kingston about the passing of Brodie Sr. Eddie Kingston as well, I didn't mention this yesterday and I really do. His tribute that he said on that show, they did the sort of tribute packages, when they're sitting in the chair like this, looking into the camera, saying their memories, their thoughts about Jon Huber, Brodie Lee, and how they'll miss him and how they love him. I thought Eddie Kingston's was just fantastic. It was really fantastic, and Eddie Kingston's he's such a stand-up guy. He is such a stand-up guy, and again, with all of these tributes, the picture there, you can see it on the screen next to me, of Brodie Lee Jr. -1 with the Dark Order mask, the TNT Championship that his father held as well, and also the suit similar to what his father wore with the Brodie Lee armband on as well. It's just, it's words can't do it justice. Words can't do it justice. I know the cliche is a picture is worth 1,000 words, but this one it's worth 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000, because that picture says more than words could ever say. It really does. It really does, because it's so prophetic. It's so fantastic, and as I mentioned, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but it just goes to say, like, what a fantastic job. What a fantastic job. And I still can't believe it's real. Occasionally, I guess this is just the nature of things and people when they pass, but occasionally I'll be sitting there and I'll be reading Twitter, or I'll be doing work on here and doing stuff for the channel, and then it will hit me that this is all real, and I can't believe still it's real. I don't know about you, I just can't, at certain points, I just can't wrap my head around it still. I just can't comprehend that all of this has happened, and so quickly, and it's mind-boggling. And again, then immediately my mind goes to the family and the children of Jon Huber, and it's heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking. But what has been heartwarming, as I mentioned, is these tribute shows, the love, most importantly, that's been radiating in the pro wrestling community has been absolutely phenomenal to see. It really has. And this is just another tribute that, again, you have to say to AEW, you are doing such a fantastic job of supporting this family, helping this family, and paying tribute to Brodie Lee, Jon Huber. It's just, it is fantastic to see. It really is. Let's switch now to WWE news, because it looks like Seth Rollins' return to WWE, specifically Friday Night SmackDown, may have been delayed. Now, we did a video about this on Monday as part of the news video, and it was based on a tweet by WWE on Fox's Twitter account earlier this week that Seth Rollins would be returning on the first episode of SmackDown from 2021. But it looks like Seth Rollins' return may have been nixed from tonight's episode of SmackDown on Fox. Now, it was noted, as I mentioned earlier this week, last week, that the WWE on Fox Twitter account released a promo that I believe was airing during the NFL games on Fox, that Seth Rollins, the SmackDown Savior, the Monday Night Messiah, whatever you want to call him, was going to be returning on the New Year's Day edition of SmackDown on Fox, which of course airs tonight. Now, while WWE created the promo, Rollins' return was actually never promoted by WWE officially in terms of on their website, on their full social media. It was just WWE on Fox that was saying this. Now, it should be noted now that the same video promo that Fox was airing and WWE on Fox's social media pages was airing has now been deleted. And furthermore, Seth Rollins' return is not listed on the official SmackDown preview for tonight's show. So, does that mean Seth Rollins isn't returning tonight? No. It could just be a case of they've decided to go a different route, and Seth Rollins might be returning as a surprise at the end of the show, kick off 2021 in style, have Seth Rollins returning. So, just because they've deleted this doesn't necessarily mean that Seth Rollins isn't going to appear at some point on SmackDown tonight. If he does, it's not much of a surprise, considering they told us that was the case and then maybe decided to keep it a surprise. I don't know. Maybe it could be a case, if you really want to get into, looking deep into it, maybe it's a case of, okay, put this out here, then people know that Rollins is going to be returning, but then if we pull it, people are going to be tuning in to see whether he's going to appear or not. I don't know. Maybe that's a way to look at that potentially for the future. Nevertheless, Seth Rollins returning tonight, or whether it's going to be next week, I still said that I think he was going to be back before the Royal Rumble. To be honest, I was surprised he was going to be back this early. Obviously, he left and went on hiatus from WWE at Survivor Series. He was the first person eliminated after sacrificing himself to Sheamus during the SmackDown vs. Raw traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series tag team elimination match. He went on hiatus at the time on paternity leave because, of course, his fiancée Becky Lynch gave birth to their first child last month. So that was the case why he was genuinely stepping away. It wasn't an injury or anything like that. It was just going on paternity leave. I was just surprised that when it was announced initially that it was going to be this soon, I thought, you know what, why didn't save it for the Royal Rumble? Have him return at the Royal Rumble, make the Royal Rumble a big deal. We've been hearing all of this stuff over the last few weeks because of the ratings, specifically on the Raw side, not on the SmackDown side of things, of course. But WWE is going to make a big splash when it comes to the Royal Rumble. The build up to the Royal Rumble, that's going to be a big reset, as it were, for WWE in 2021. If you want to have a big reset, if you want to have some hype, have Seth Rollins create a moment, return at the Royal Rumble. I also, though, understand WWE's position when it comes to the Fox situation right now, and that they did a very, very, very strong number for the Christmas night edition of SmackDown. So you want to have Seth Rollins back on the show as soon as possible, I guess, because you want to capitalize on that. Try and keep that audience. Now, I don't know when it comes to that audience. As I mentioned, I think there was a lot of factors involved there as to why they had such a strong audience on Christmas night, even for a tape show across Christmas, is that the NFL lead-in was unbelievably strong. It was like 4 million, it's the most people viewing an NFL match on Fox since 2016, and you had 3 title matches that were heavily promoted ahead of time. That's why they did a strong show. So whether or not Seth Rollins appears tonight, we'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, in the same way I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. Maybe that's sitting on the fence, but I guess that's just WWE at this point. You could also argue it just goes to show WWE's planning. I've mentioned several times that at this point, WWE doesn't even just go week to week in terms of planning for creative. They go hour to hour, day to day. That's what they do. So I wouldn't be surprised if on Monday or on Sunday, whenever it was, Seth Rollins was planned to return to SmackDown, and then the following day they went, oh no, we'll change plans. and I've probably changed a million times since then. So I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if that is the case when it comes to Rollins on SmackDown. The only way, of course, we'll find out is by tuning in tonight, though. We also have a new champion in WWE because a new champion was crowned last night, and that being Angel Garza and the 24/7 Championship, because Angel Garza is the new WWE 24/7 champion. Now, Garza pinned R-Truth during TikTok's New Year's Eve party last night. Garza then took to Twitter to comment on winning the championship. Garza tweeted, quote, "Gold, baby. For a second year in a row, I end with gold. Wrong killings, I'll show you how to treat a baby." Now, before losing it last night, R-Truth had been the 24/7 champion since pinning Akira Tozawa on November 22nd in Orlando, Florida at Survivor Series. I don't know how to feel about this. What has been proven, I suppose, when it comes to the 24/7 championship, and I'm surprised they do it less and less, because this is really what I felt maybe the best use of the 24/7 championship was that when they were doing quite a few title changes on social media, that worked for WWE. It really did. I don't care about the 24/7 championship. I don't think anyone does at this point, apart from maybe R-Truth. The USA Network requested that WWE add it in. For a brief period of time, it was successful. I think people liked the chaotic sentiment of it. It's a rip-off of the Hardcore Championship and the 24/7 rule back in the early 2000s, late 90s. Nevertheless, I think it was a PG version of that. People did like it, though, because it added in some wacky segments and some comedic segments. But at this point, it jumped the shark a long, long time ago. But the way that it could be useful still to WWE, I think, is if they just use it on social media. That's what drove quite a lot of traffic to WWE social media in the past. Having these title changes, whether they're on aeroplanes, whether they're at Fox, whether they're at wherever, whether at a fish market, you name it, the 24/7 Championship can be useful if they use it as a social media tool. So I'm not against that in the slightest. What I am slightly concerned about is that Angel Garza, one of the most promising superstars on the Monday Night Raw roster, is now involved with the 24/7 Championship. That traditionally is a kiss of death, because that shows you where your position is on the card at that time. Drew Gulak earlier this year was having great matches with Daniel Bryan and competing for the Intercontinental Championship. Now he's chasing the 24/7 title on Raw because that shows Vince McMahon thinks you're a good wrestler, but you're going to be in the comedic spot. Everyone loves R-Truth, but he's got his spot now. Same with Akira Tozawa. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? They're booked on TV every week, but is it a bad thing because your ceiling is up here, but you are never going to reach the upper echelon once you're pigeonholed into that 24/7 Championship picture? That would be my concern with Angel Garza there. Now, potentially, trying to be an optimist here, potentially you could say, well, at least he's doing something. It will put him on TV, and who knows? Maybe he can add a bit of credibility to the championship. Maybe the title can be taken a little bit more seriously. Maybe they can actually have matches. I'm totally for having matches for the 24/7 Championship when they rarely do. You know, have a match for the 24/7 Championship in the sense that the rules have been suspended for that period of time, and once it's over, you can go in. Why not do that every week? Why not actually defend it like a championship? I know it almost goes against the gimmick. Maybe it could be a case of Angel Garza actually elevating the title. I've always preferred it when it comes to the 24/7 Championship. It was the same with the Hardcore title. Have someone up the card hold it. It makes the title seem more important. When Elias held the 24/7 Championship on a few periods of time, I enjoyed that because Elias is a mid-card, upper mid-card superstar. It makes the 24/7 title seem more important. Remember way back when, was it 2001, when The Undertaker was the Hardcore champion? It made the Hardcore title feel more important. I remember the match he had against Rob Van Dam at Vengeance in 2001. It made the Hardcore title mean something a bit more. It's not to say the 24/7 Championship can't be saved. I do think it's jumped the shark, but it can be saved if you put it on guys higher up the card, make it seem more important. So maybe that could be the case of Angel Garza, or it could just be the case, I mean, let's face it could just be the case, Monday night on Raw, it disappears because R-Truth will win the title back, and then we go back to the comedic segment. So I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. At this point, why don't you just rename it, not the 24/7 Championship, but the R-Truth Championship, because that's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, if anything, it's just rejuvenated R-Truth's career. It really has. So we'll have to wait and see what happens when it comes to Angel Garza and that. We have an update when it comes to LANA as well, because LANA, of course, is off TV at the moment, selling an injury from Nia Jax. But LANA has now raised some concerns on social media that she might legitimately be injured if her Instagram account is any indication of that. Now, on Thursday night, LANA wished fans a Happy New Year, along with 2 pictures of her wearing braces on her arm and leg. She actually said, "P off," I've had to obviously edit that one, 2020, hashtag Happy New Year, everyone. everyone, wrote the ravishing Russian on social media. Now, of course, when it comes to these injuries, Lana and Asuka were in line to face former WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler at the TLC pay-per-view event last month for the titles. However, Lana was pulled out of the match after she was viciously attacked by Baszler and Jax on Raw. It was later noted on commentary that Lana suffered an MCL injury to her left knee and a non-displaced radial head fracture on her left elbow. I'm so glad I was able to say that correctly. At the time, it was reported in several outlets that Lana had suffered injuries in terms of the storyline. She was actually fine. She was just going to be off TV for a few weeks selling the injuries. But now, Lana has posted the picture on social media, actually embraces. So I don't know if it's legitimate or not. You know, we all are desperate for kayfabe to return, right? Kayfabe is so strange when it comes to pro wrestling nowadays, really, isn't it? Because we're desperate for it to return. You hear all of these people say, I wish kayfabe was back. Oh, I wish we could be back in the time where people believed and kayfabe was real. And then when someone tries to do kayfabe nowadays, so maybe in this case, if it is just a storyline, when someone does try to do kayfabe at this period of time, where's the braces? Where's the the sling, the braces on the leg? People go, oh, stop treating us like idiots. We know it's not real. You can never win. You can never win. So we'll find out when it comes to Lana. Maybe it's a case of she does have some minor injuries and she's maybe healing up. Maybe it's a case of her trying to continue the storyline. With Lana, sometimes you never know. She can go on one side of things in the middle of a storyline and that's she's getting engaged to Rusev, or she can sometimes just be totally kayfabe. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I still think it's in storyline. Who knows, though? Who knows? But again, if it's an attempt at kayfabe, I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. We also have an update when it comes to WWE Hall of Famer X-Pac, because maybe X-Pac, Sean Waltman, could be returning to the ring in the near future, because he has said and revealed that he can now wrestle again after being cured of hepatitis C. Now, WWE Hall of Famer Sean X-Pac Waltman recently held a fan Q&A on his podcast, X-Pac 12360. During one question, he discussed how he was unsatisfied with his last match, and he revealed that he is now cured of hepatitis C. He said, quote, there are lots of folks out there that would fit the bill of the right opponent. The last matches I had, I didn't have the best experience. My last match at WrestleMania weekend, when I decided I was done, it was a 6-man with me, Hurricane Helms, and Liger on Liger's farewell tour, and it didn't go how I wanted. Some of the spots and some of the finish got screwed up. I blew a gasket. Must have been a real MF to deal with at that point. I was like, if I'm going to be like that, I shouldn't be having matches. These guys are out there doing the best they can. They're not as experienced as I'm taking it way too serious, but that's how I'm used to doing it. That being said, I had hepatitis C for a long time that kept me. I tested positive for it when I came back to TNA and I was doing that stuff with Kevin and Scott. Hogan came in with Eric and all that. After that, I couldn't get cleared in states with athletic commissions, so TNA and WWE couldn't have me in matches. I would just do little matches here and there. Nothing serious, no blood. Now I'm cured, everyone. Just this year, I got cured. I haven't mentioned it publicly. It costs $100 a treatment. It's $100,000 a treatment, sorry. It's $1,000 a pill every day. I feel great. I didn't feel anything. People are going, how come he never came back? So that's the reason, but now that's clear. So now I'm going to get my knee fixed. I had a torn ACL since the turn of the decade. I was living in Mexico. I tore my ACL. It was around 2008. So I'm going to get that fixed sometime next year. I'll put myself on the market, have a few more matches. People go, hey, have you got one more run left in you? Everyone thinks they have one more run left in them. I don't care if a dude's in a wheelchair, he'll swear to God he has another run left in him. Now, Waltman said in the past that he was done with wrestling, but the new news has changed that. Waltman was asked if he could work a regular schedule and how many matches he feels he has left in him. Waltman said, quote, no, I could, but I don't know if I want to. I probably have half a dozen good hard matches in me. Now, when it comes to Sean Waltman, again, the whole hepatitis thing, first of all, unbelievable that he's cured of it. Really glad to hear that. And I would love to see him have a few more matches, especially under the WWE umbrella. That's what I would really want to see. This is a guy, you sometimes forget his age, because when he started in the business and when he started in WWE, he was so young. During that time in the Attitude Era, arguably at the peak of his powers, he was only 25 years old. He was in his mid-20s in the Attitude Eras. Right now, he's only 48. In terms of the pro wrestling world, that is nothing. Right, 48, is that same age as Edge, or maybe a couple of years older than Edge? So he's the same age as Edge. No one's saying, oh, Edge, you're too old to come back. It's the same with Sean Waltman. Sure, Waltman, and you forget the career that he's had, the influential figure he was, especially being a smaller guy coming into WWE in the sort of early to mid-90s, is a huge credit to being a massive influence on several superstars and pro wrestlers nowadays, and he's a phenomenal pro wrestler. He really was ahead of his time. You know, so many different styles, whether it's strong style, grappling, mat wrestling, he really does know it all. I would love to see him come back and have a couple of matches. Now, whether, as I mentioned, that's under the main roster in WWE or in NXT, I would love to see him come back and do an NXT TakeOver match against someone. I'd love to see him come back and work on Raw or SmackDown. That would be fantastic. And I think personally, if he can get his, like I said, his injuries fixed, he mentioned he has an ACL tear, and I think he had a torn bicep or something like that for a while. If he can get those fixed and he feels healthy enough to come back, I would love to see it. Now, of course, given the time of the year, when you talk about returns, people will go, well, the Royal Rumble is just around the corner. Will he return at the Royal Rumble? Maybe, like he said, that's too soon. But maybe after that announcement, WWE makes a call, he does a cameo appearance, and then gets himself fixed. It's not out of the realm of possibility, and I would love to see him back. As a fan of X-Pac, as a fan of WWE in the Attitude Era, and everything that he's done during his career, I'd love to see him end his career on his terms and have a fantastic match. As I mentioned, he's still, in terms of being a pro wrestler, he's still got plenty of time to do it. So I would be really excited to see that, and I really do hope it happens. I really do. We also have an update when it comes to the debut of Ben Carter in NXT UK, because new NXT UK superstar Ben Carter is set to make his TV debut next Thursday on the first NXT UK episode of 2021 on the WWE Network. As noted earlier this month, an NXT UK episode featured a vignette for Carter's arrival, confirming that he had signed with the company. The promo featured praise from the likes of Seth Rollins and NXT General Manager William Regal. Now it's been revealed by TalkSport that Carter will make his first NXT UK TV appearance next Thursday in a Supernova Sessions talk show segment with Noam Dar on the show. Now, Carter, of course, made his name, as it were, on the independent scene, but also made his AEW debut with a loss to Ricky Starks back on the September 8th edition of AEW Dark on YouTube. He then returned to Dark for a win over Lee Johnson on September 22. Following that win, Carter really impressed with his loss to Scorpio Sky on the September 22 edition of Late Night Dynamite on TNT. But Carter also made his Impact Wrestling debut back in October, losing to Chris Sabin during an episode of Explosion. But it was then reported a few months back that Carter finally decided to sign with WWE because of how the whole current pandemic impacted his independent work on the independent scene, and that working with NXT UK in the United Kingdom would allow him to work close to home. Carter reportedly had interest from AEW and Impact before signing with WWE, but ultimately decided to sign with the company. As I mentioned before, there was some criticism when Ben Carter signed with WWE purely because people can't wrap their head around how dare he? How dare he wrestle for AEW then sign with WWE? I can't believe he would do that. It's in the article. It's in the report. He mentioned it there. The reason he decided to work with WWE, one, because it's WWE. It still is a lot of people's dream. But furthermore, we're in a pandemic. It's good money, and he can work in the UK and stay close to home. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, and he can still have great fun, have great matches. The NXT UK brand is great. They do a great product. They have really fun matches. Walter versus Ilya Dragunov is arguably one of the matches of the year this year, and that took place on NXT during the pandemic in an empty arena there at BT Sports Studio. So why wouldn't you sign there? And I think people were just upset because how dare you turn down AEW? Oh, I can't believe you turned down AEW for the evil WWE. I credit him, and I look forward to his debut because he's an unbelievably talented wrestler, and I think he'll do great work in WWE. I think eventually, hopefully once we get out of this pandemic madness, whenever that is, safely of course, I think he'll probably end up in NXT in the United States as well, and that'll be fantastic to see too. But he's going to be making his debut next week on NXT UK. And finally, we have a nice heartwarming story about The Rock giving a new truck to longtime WWE employee Harvey Whippleman. Now, The Rock has surprised longtime WWE employee Harvey Whippleman, Bruno Lauer, with a brand new car. Now, Dwanta Claus, which is what Dwayne Johnson's been doing a lot on social media recently, has been known to surprise certain people in his life with new cars over the years, and his latest automobile gift was for Harvey Whippleman, who Rock thanked him for being there for him when he was a younger superstar or upcoming person in WWE. Now, originally hired in 1991, Harvey Whippleman does still work behind the scenes for WWE. Now, The Rock took to Instagram yesterday and made the long post about his history with the former WWE Women's Champion Harvey Whippleman. The post included a video of The Rock reunited with Whippleman on the set of NBC's Young Rock series, and The Rock revealing that the new Ford F 150 pickup truck. An emotional Whippleman thanked Rock for this gift and said he would never forget the gesture. Rock noted that he was having the truck shipped to Bruno's trailer in Walls, Mississippi. This is a couple of quotes of what The Rock said. He said, quote, "He took this punk kid in and we became long life friends. Then ironically, about 9 years later, when I had my infamous $7 in my pocket, I started my wrestling career in Memphis, Tennessee, and again, had no place to live, and Bruno took me in and let me shake up in his trailer till I could get on my feet. And how, when I was 15 years old, Bruno even gave me his last $40 so I could hustle a someone takes drugs out of his car one night at a honky tonk in Nashville. Merry Christmas, Bruno, and since you helped me buy my first car, I figured I could return the favor and buy you one that 100% does not have that guy in the back seat." So what a heartwarming story there from The Rock. A fantastic gesture and just perfectly in spirit with the holiday season. You love to see it, as they would say. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the news stories we have spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So get involved with the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or how did you come across this video today. And I'll speak with you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.